Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. Thanks so much for joining us. I've got Jason McMaster of Dangerous Toys joining me today for an interview. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. So, besides Dangerous Toys, you're also a singer with Watchtower, your pre-Dangerous Toys band, thrash metal band. You've got Broken Teeth, which is also your sort of ode to AC/DC. You've also done some shows with Dirty Looks out there. It's got your band member Paul Lydell, part of that group over there. And then your most recent, Hot Shot. You've released a two-song single so far on that, and hopefully we're going to get some more. But basically, much in the vein of Dangerous Toys and Dirty Looks. And I like that you've got your Armored Saint shirt on because I was going to comment on the fact that you've also filled in on vocals for not only Armored Saint, but also Accept. So you've done quite a bit of different things out there over the years. And now the reason you're here is you've got a brand new album from Dangerous Toys, Demolition, collection of songs that were recorded after the second album, before the third album, out on Deadline Music this Friday, December 12th, 2025. So, guys, mark your calendar for that. But yeah, I wanted to jump into that right away and basically find out how did it come to be that you're releasing these songs after 30 years?
First off, I want to say A plus on your homework.
All right.
Yeah. Um, y- you know, here's how I sort of put it to rights. Scott was talking to Deadline Cleopatra, and they've done reissues uh of the Pissed album and the artist formerly, and they also did the live album.
Yeah, both of these.
Yeah, and they did the live album Vitamins and Crash Helmets
Right.
tour, and which is extremely rare now.
Mhm.
And so I think it was kind of went like this. Scott was talking to them about his band, Legion of the Dog, and I think that they're going to release his record. And they said, "Well, while we're talking to you, dangerous toy stuff. What do you got laying around?" Kind of a thing. During COVID, I had this is a kind of a side note. During COVID, I had ended up digitizing a lot of cassette tapes, and I had boxes of cassette recorded 4-track and 8-track demos of Dangerous Toys music from between the end of 91 right up until the end of 93. Safe bet. These recording sessions, or, where we were writing these writing sessions, um, from pretty much from the time that we left the Operation Rock and Roll tour in summer 91, we were writing songs. And then in 92, we lost Danny Aaron. He quit the band, and that's fine. He wanted to go to trade school and make money. It was a little bit slim pickings when you're in between things, right? So, and that's fine. And then we did a tour in 1993, not supporting a record, but we did play quite a few uh, freshly written songs on this tour that we did in 1993. And the guitar player that took Danny's place, Kevin Fowler, who's now a regional country star. Look him up. Great songwriter. If you like country music, he's great.
Okay.
And he's a great songwriter, a good friend of ours, and done extremely well. He was in the band for about 9 months, and he did that tour with us, and it was probably 100 shows.
Wow.
We were busy in 1993. So, um, The pissed. It's a loaded question. I hope you're prepared.
All right, I'm
Uh,
ready. Bring
yeah.
it.
The songs that ended up on the Pissed album in '94 had been culled also from this session between,
Mhm,
like I said, into '91 up to the end of '93. So when you take those out, um, and then you have a lot left over,
mhm,
some okay, some terrible, and the terrible, maybe you could count them on, one hand,
mhm.
maybe two hands, definitely not three, but it's out of a lot of tunes, man.
Yeah.
And so during these sessions, we were writing, I don't know, and then demoing three or four, five songs sometimes
Mhm.
and burning them and sending them to management in turn would send them to the label. And we kept hearing the same thing. Nope, not there yet. Keep writing. Nope, keep writing, week after week after week. And so, there's a 2 year interim there where it's like, holy moly, Meanwhile, the musical climate was a little bit different. And much like sheep, you go where the grass grows.
Mhm,
Well, the labels were doing that as well as rock music fans.
mhm,
The whole time we were pretty much, we were open to writing a different kind of a song, but it was definitely not going to be something that, in my opinion, would have attracted, Columbia, Sony Music, the
mhm.
label we were on. So after sending them probably, I don't know, 50 songs,
Wow.
you know,
Mhm,
um, we asked management, we were like, hey, man, can you just call them and like say, hey, can we get the hell out? Because we're ready to make a record. We wanted to make a record.
mhm,
And they said, yeah, you guys have been great. And I was reminded the other day is, they kind of they pay you to leave. I
mhm,
mean, there was enough money in the bean counter's office. He's like, "Oh, this envelope belongs to you. See you later. Great working with you." And everything was copacetic.
mhm.
So that was nice. It was like, wow, we got paid to be dropped.
Yeah,
After we asked to be dropped, they give you a bag of money. I'm sure that didn't happen all the time, but
right, right.
there was some money in the kitty.
Mhm,
So we kept on writing. And like I said, we did that tour by January 1st, just as a side note, by January 1st of '94 is when Paul Lydell knocked on my front door and we
right.
had coaxed him, from Dirty Looks to move to Texas and be in the Toys,
Mhm,
and immediately started rehearsals with him and then went out to the Valley in Los Angeles and recorded the Pissed album. Okay, backing up. Um, Cleopatra on the phone with Scott. What do you got laying around? And Scott calls me and he's like, man, they want 10 songs and they got a little bag of money for us if we can come up with 10 songs of these, demo, like old stuff laying around. I'm like, oh man, there's a bunch of terrible things in there. We have to go through all this. Well, luckily I had, you know, cassette deck
mhm,
going right into my, you know, digitize, onto the hard drive, right? But it has to play in real time. It's cassette, it's analog. So I'm just putting cassette after cassette after cassette and pressing play and then walking away. So, to go in and like itemize each, split all the songs up and edit, if you were, as it were. None of this stuff had been mastered.
mhm.
It's demos on, recorded on Fostex and Tascam 4-track and 8-track, you know, lone recorders, like, that you take into the garage and write a song with.
Yeah, nothing high end.
Yeah. And so, get ready to hear some tape hiss
Mhm.
and some tape warble because when did I say this was?
30
you
years ago.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of crazy, but And I have to admit, it was kind of fun to go through all that stuff. Again, I just gone through all of it during COVID, you
Hmm.
know. And obviously, I mean, you might think I'm a hoarder with this landfill behind me, but within yeah, yours is a little more organized than mine, to be honest. But those boxes of cassettes,
Yeah.
at there's been 100 times I felt like, why am I holding on to this crap? These songs are terrible, blah blah blah. Well, I'm glad I did because it paid the rent, right?
Yeah.
So to speak, in
Right.
a nutshell. And so some of the songs are pretty good. Like I keep
Mhm.
kind of, I'll let you guys be the judge.
Oh, well, you guys have dropped four of them so far. I mean, some of the stuff is amazing. I would have loved to have heard that, fully fleshed out, properly recorded in the studio kind of thing to have turned up on Pissed or a later album or whatever. But, hindsight's always 2020 when you're looking back at things.
Yeah, it's interesting that one of the singles, "Come Out Swinging," is actually a 4 track recorded on a 4 track,
Mhm.
and the fact that that sort of like got sold under the radar as a decent sounding song next to, ironically, the 3 songs released previous or in the middle of it all. I think "Rattle My Cage" is the most recent released single,
Yeah.
and then it was "Come Out Swinging," I think, and then before that it was "Backstreet Girl," and then the first one was "Rock Shot Cowboy." Well, 3 out of the 4, "Rock Shot Cowboy," "Rattle My Cage," and "Backstreet Girl," ironically, were 3 out of 4 songs
Mhm.
that were actually recorded in a studio.
Mhm.
Out of all 10,
Right.
those 3 are, I recall, were recorded in the same studio that the album "Dangerous Toys," the artist formerly known as, was recorded in.
Okay.
So at one point, probably late 91 or early 92, as I recall, uh, we went in there as a last ditch, paid for, I think, by our publishing company, to do some new demos.
Mhm.
Like, show us what you got. What's the newest thing you have? And, let's start talking about a third record. And it was 4 songs. The other song I don't want to mention because we've called that and we're going to rework that and hopefully put it on a whole new. We're going to actually re-record that song. So
Okay.
I won't.
Fantastic.
I'll put that one over here.
All right.
So there, and on that note, there's been at least one song that we have also done the same thing. Me and Scott found it and we're like, maybe
Too
we
good to
should
pass
pull
up.
this one back too,
Yeah.
and save it for a rainy day as well. So that is pretty much the story. Now, these tunes recorded on, that were warbly and tape hissy and noisy and, just sounded like crappy demos to me and Scott.
Hmm.
Scott did Scott did the mastering. I went in and messed with a lot of it. Scott, I'm not throwing him under the bus. He didn't like some of my mastering that I was doing. I was pushing too much frequency or something, and he went in and did his own mastering in the end there.
Hmm.
And he did a great job. He's polishing turds. You know what I mean? He's doing the best he can. I was doing the best I can to get it and to be honest, there might have been one little place that was just so terrible where there's like just tape farts, just digital hiss and and hiss, just stuff that was maybe happening during the process of digitizing the actual. But anyway, so this part repeats at 3 minutes. Let's grab this,
All right.
where it's all noisy, and just grab this little 3-second part and put a band-aid on it. That was done very minimal. So we kind of got lucky with the entire turd polishing process. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the story of how it all came together.
No, that's very cool. Now, you already touched on the next thing I wanted to find out about, which is you said you're working on some new material and you held out some of the demos that you came across to re-record, but why is it that in 30 years since 1995, Dangerous Toys has never made a brand new record? You guys have continued to tour, play shows.
Okay. So it's not because of the answer I'm about to give, it's not I am only one of the ingredients.
Right.
Everyone knows that.
Sure, certainly.
It takes a village. So, um, you know, there's a lot of different answers, but I'll start with my personal opinion that is slightly changed over, up and down over the years.
Hmm.
There's a lot of our constituents by way of bands that maybe came out in the class of 89, the summer of 89. There was a lot of great stuff happening.
Hmm.
Um, I am a firm believer that hair metal killed hair metal, that grunge had nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
Ironically, I also feel that grunge killed grunge
Yeah.
for the same exact reasons, that labels were looking for the next big thing.
Hmm.
So, we need to sign 10 Nirvanas
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, they
The
flooded
same
the
thing
market.
happened same thing happened with Guns N' Roses. We need to sign 10 Guns N' Roses today. So,
Hmm.
you know, the the vicious cycle of the music business, and you are a product.
Hmm.
And even though you want to say, I'm an artist and I'm a creator and la la la, that's fine. As soon as you know, put a bow on it and you're on the shelf, well, you're a product. So, um, you know, I had this, I'll call it a bad attitude that, since we're stuck in this kind of bad, you know, and good at the same time sort of niche, why make, 5 records in 30 years or 20 records, however, you just pick a number in the 30-year rest, absence, if you will,
Hmm.
that not really that many people are going to buy. Hardcores are going to buy it,
Hmm.
sure. This is not an apology as to why I wasn't feeling like it mattered much if we did or not, because there is a large percentage that are just waiting for teasing, pleasing, and scared so they can relieve the babysitter.
Right. Yeah.
For us to mentally, physically, in our elder statesman ages now,
Hmm.
write a song like Sportin' a Woody,
Hmm.
which we have, I will confess, which we have. Probably shouldn't have gone there, but we did in recent years. There's new songs that sort of reminisce on that thing because, you know, it ended up being, well, this is kind of fun.
Hmm.
Let's just write what's coming off the top of our head, which is what an artist should be um proud to do anyway.
Hmm.
Just create what's floating around in the air. Oh, let's glue all this together. Ooh, that's pretty fun.
Hmm.
So sometimes that happened, and at the same time, not to sound confusing, there's some things that sound like they probably could have been on the artist formerly known as, which is the record that we only set out to make by way of let's break all of our own rules.
Hmm.
You know, whatever is in the air, let's glue it all together right now in 1995,
Hmm.
which just sounds like the wrong time for a band like Dangerous Toys to make a record,
Hmm.
because who gives a shit? You know what I mean? And that was my bad attitude as to why I felt like, oh, we don't need to be, I at that point, and I've said this in other interviews, at that point in 95, I was moonlighting again. I was playing with other bands. By 99, I was probably in 4 other bands. and started making records with these other projects
Hmm.
and releasing material. And I felt stronger about that and releasing records by this whole new thing than I did Dangerous Toys because of any expectations that might be following me around.
Hmm.
Like eyes in the back of my head going, dude, what are you doing? It's like,
Right, right.
I'm creating
Hmm.
and there's no rules now. So might as well just call it something different because everybody else is doing their own kind of thing. And, there were a few years where it was Dangerous Toys was a little bit dead, but there's a lot of people out there that took liberties on our updated bio to say that the band disband, and we never disband.
Oh, that's good to know. 'Cause, yeah.
Mike Watson left. He recorded the bass tracks for Pissed,
Hmm.
but then when we got home and then we were going to start a tour, he decided he needed to go to trade school and make money because he was going to lose his ass on the road. And we had to say, dude, that's fine. So we called our buddy Michael Hannon from Salty Dog and we did a tour with him.
Yeah.
So Michael Hannon really did the Piss tour,
Hmm.
the official Pissed tour. And then on the artists, I mean, Michael went back to Ohio and I was playing bass on all the demos for that record. And the producer just suggested you should play bass. These songs feel this way because of what's happening chemically between the leftovers,
Hmm.
and that's why it's called the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys. It had a totally different feel for we had lost vital parts of the monster, and so it became this mutated version. And anyway, that's my beautiful nightmare of that record, and which I love the record. But anyway, so things about Demolition that are cool are because of all the warts
Hmm.
and the problems we were having and the bad attitude that I'm telling you about now. Now, also, I feel like, well, and I've already said it, you know, writing a new record and it's, the main songwriters are me and Scott, and, Paul writes a certain way and I write a certain way when I'm on my own, and Scott writes a certain way, but he doesn't write lyrics. So, there was a little bit of push and pull, and that kind of stressed things. And also, in the past 30 years, technology is
Hmm.
crazy now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the way records are made, the way songwriters create, the tools are, so it's actually I've made a bunch of records with people I've never met,
Hmm.
and it's commonplace.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, people need to be told that or kindly reminded that its technology maybe had a little bit of a play in the push and pull uh, geographically between the main writers. It's not five guys in the studio or five guys in the garage sweating it out in summer heat, Texas,
Right.
writing these cool, fun, loud, heavy metal boogie woogie songs anymore because of the fragmentation.
Hmm.
So I hope that answered your question about five different ways.
No, absolutely. And I can
Yeah,
totally see where you were coming from on it, saying that, pouring your heart and soul out into the writing, the recording of this, and then having only a few people go out and buy it or go, not even so much buy it, but hearing it, right?
yeah,
You're an artist, you're somebody who creates, and to put that out there and then not have anyone experience that I can understand would be sort of a disheartening thing and would be hard to want to do that. But as you pointed out, you did do a lot with other bands. Broken Teeth, you've recorded a number of albums and put that stuff out. And that's very close to Dangerous Toys style stuff as well. But as you said, new banner, new title to it, and it doesn't really carry the baggage of Dangerous Toys or the name of Dangerous Toys with it. So I don't know, that totally makes sense to me. It was just as a diehard Dangerous Toys fan, I always wanted that that new album, that thing. And seeing you guys play, just I always had that question in my mind: why was there never a new album? But lots and lots of things obviously play into it, certainly.
Yeah, and it's not it it's not anyone's fault.
Mm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
And I haven't seen too many rabid fans just walk up and go, "Man, I'm pissed off." You know what I mean? It hadn't really, not yet,
Yeah.
cross my fingers, but there have been some sharp words by way of oh, I don't know, like people saying that, these guys are just lazy.
Mm. Yeah.
And they're not that's an easy punch, you
Sure.
know. And I'll take the punch. I'll take the punch. But if anyone's really paying attention,
Hmm.
I'm not lazy.
No, no, of course not. No, definitely not.
All they got to do is look it up. I am not lazy.
I mean,
So,
even going and playing shows every night, even if you never record it again, that's not being lazy. There's still a
right.
performance of that when most people don't think about that. They see you one night out of the year, whatever it might be, and they think that's all you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You're playing different places all the time, and
With
certainly
different bands.
and with different bands
Yeah.
exactly. And so, as you point out, elder statesmen, right?
Yeah.
To get into that headspace and do that, it does take time.
Oh
It's
yeah.
something different to be doing than just going out and playing live.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm collaborating with a bunch of people. There was you mentioned the Dirty Looks thing, and it's obvious that the guys in Dangerous Toys were always huge fans of theirs.
Hmm.
And then we met those guys and befriended Paul, and then next thing you know, he's in the band. He's in our band,
Hmm.
and then I'm in his band, and
I
then
know.
Henrik unfortunately passes away, and he
Yeah.
was a one of a kind songwriter.
Yeah.
That kind of dirty rock and roll, just I'm not going to call it a dying breed, but no one did it like that.
Yeah.
He personified a certain tone,
Hmm.
and he's up there with George from Rhino Bucket. I mean, there's only one George and there's only one Henrik, and those guys hone in on and create when they're got their guitar and they're singing and playing guitar. I can't do it's I can do a version of that, but I ain't that.
Hmm.
And I've always admired both of those guys. And anyway, Henrik being gone now, and at some point, God, it's going on 5 years ago, or maybe, God, longer.
Yeah. 2020.
And it was right before, yeah, well, it was right before, well,
You had a couple
it
set
was
up for the
before
pandemic.
COVID. It was
Yeah.
right. It was 2020. You're right. You're right. It was,
Intensely.
yeah, it was 2020, where there was a conversation between Jack Pyers, Gene Barnett, and Paul Lydell, basically the remaining living band members of the Cool from the Wire and Turn of the Screw records.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And that's a Bible of rock and roll right there.
Isn't it? Both of these albums.
Oh my God. You're
Yeah.
holding up two holy grails, not just one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a continuum, right?
Yeah.
Those records go together like, I don't
We have to
know.
listen to them both back to back. They're just that
I
way.
one's ice cream and one's cake.
Yeah.
They go right together.
They do.
So, yeah. Um, so they had a conversation. They started to talk about, well, who's gonna, they wanted to do a tribute to Henrik, and
Mhm.
by all means they should.
Sure.
The songs are so good, and Henrik is still very missed. So they start talking about, well, I've been looking around at singers. I even called Henrik's son, hoping that he would be able to pull something like that off, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool fantasy. And I think like Glenn Fry from the Eagles' son
Oh, right.
joins the Eagles. It would have been the same thing. It was like, whoa, mind blowing.
Right. Right.
Um, but
Wolfgang
it didn't.
Van Halen.
Yeah, right. But that didn't pan out for Dirty Looks, and Paul said, I don't think that he interrupted Jack and Gene when they're in the conversation, but I think that he said, well, the only way that I'm going to do it is if Jason is the singer.
Hmm.
Thank you for the vote of confidence, Paul. And because him knowing that I'm a huge fan, me and Henrik got along well. And
Hmm.
apparently, according to legend, and this is not my words, but it's Paul's words, in his long interim, even with Jack and Gene,
Hmm.
they don't recall Henrik ever asking anyone up on stage to sing except for me.
Oh,
And I swear, every time they came through Texas, Henrik was like, "You're going to get up and do Sin City with us." And I'm like, "I am?" He goes, "Yes, you are." So that kind of gave me a little bit of a, kind of a heartfelt moment
hmm.
to be reminded that no, Henrik really you guys had a thing, whether you guys were that close or not, there was a kin going on there.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that faith, right?
Hmm.
Um, so according to Paul, Jack and Gene's response was like, "Oh, cool. Do you think he'll do it?" And I think Paul laughed out loud. Yeah, he's probably one of our biggest fans, if not our biggest fan. And we know he can sing, so what the hell? Let's go. So Paul called me, and it's on. It was on,
Cool.
and we started rehearsing. We added Dave Beeson, who's also in Broken Teeth, to play second guitar. We had some gigs booked, and then COVID really hit strong, and we had to cancel it. And I think that you knew that already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but then a couple of years later, we got back on track,
Hmm.
and we made a live album, and it sold well, and it's still available. I'm pretty sure it's on. It's all over streaming, so
Yeah.
check it out. And it's called "Cool from the Speedway."
Right.
And apparently, according to Gene and Jack, that's the longest Dirty Looks gig in Dirty Looks history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they never played 17 songs, and we played 17 songs. So, um, Hot Shot is from the ashes of what was left over. 5 years were grand. We played a handful of shows and festivals. We did the Monsters of Rock cruise. It was great. We started writing songs in the vein of Dirty Looks in hopes that we would fly the banner Dirty Looks and be able to play new Dirty Looks ish songs under the
Right.
same name and still continue to celebrate the legacy. But it just didn't work out that way.
Hmm.
And that's what those songs were written with the idea that we keep going with Dirty Looks with new material. There was some opinion within the camp that if we can't have if we do this, we probably shouldn't use the name Dirty Looks, and we
Hmm.
just decided to do again. And I have to take my own medicine here. It was better to start something new
Hmm.
than to just be like a you know you know name calling money grabber.
Yeah.
That's not that's you're not Henrik, and you'll never be Henrik. And it's like you're right, you're right, you're maybe not so right, you're right again. Whatever the haters want to bring up, I don't blame them one bit for having an opinion, right or wrong,
Hmm.
because we're messing with their dude, and we're messing with
Yeah.
their favorite band, and we're
Right.
messing with their friend, and we're messing with it's like you're not Ace Frehley.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, Tommy Thayer's badass.
Right.
He does a badass Ace Frehley. He does, I'm going to get shot at. Ace Frehley, he does a better Ace Frehley than Ace sometimes. I mean, I want to see Ace,
Right. Right. But
but you know what I'm saying. I'm
yeah,
trying to be fair.
he's technically the better
I
musician.
I love the
Yeah.
game. I love Tommy Thayer. I love Ace Frehley. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I'm a fan, uh, him or Ace.
Right.
Tommy, Ace, whatever, I'm a fan. But you see the point.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
to take all of that, and I think Hot Shot, and to add to a comment. We are releasing a full length record, Hot Shot.
Fantastic. Good
We
to
are
hear.
writing we are writing more songs as we speak,
Okay.
and we will. I don't know when. Hopefully next year, but I don't. We'll have 9 or 10 songs ready for you as soon as we can.
That's awesome. Well, certainly for all those tuning in, if you haven't gone and checked out the two Hot Shot songs that have already been released, check those out because my question to you was going to be um, essentially with the lineup that is that, it's as though it would be what Dirty Looks would sound like if they were recording today. But you already touched on that, saying that when you decided to write in the vein of Dirty Looks and then ultimately not call it that. So that's exactly what I gleaned from it when I first heard it and was thinking that, but you let me know. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And those of you who are fans of just Paul Lydell and
Mhm.
anything that's on Paul, because Paul has his own fans.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great guy. He's a great guitar player. He has a band called Scream Therapy that's doing well.
Yeah. They just
And
released a new album.
correct. And there's a whole like Paul Lydell tree
Hmm.
that's growing. And here's the thing, and here's what meant to lead with, but I wanted to throw some other things in there.
Hmm.
Paul writes a certain way.
Hmm.
He plays his guitar a certain way to where I don't know about you, but to me, when I hear guitar, that's either Paul Lydell or someone who's trying to sound like Paul Lydell.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you hear Cool from the Wire and then you hear Scream Therapy and whatever in between, I mean, me and Paul started Broken Teeth together.
Hmm.
So when you listen to those first two, three Broken Teeth records, you're going, it's Paul Idell.
Right.
And it's kind of a tone and a sound on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I can always use more Paul Lydell in my life and
Yes, me
certainly
too.
definitely use more Jason McMaster as well. And
Awesome.
glad that you got a bunch of stuff coming out. And did I hear right though that Watchtower, you're back with them? You're making a new album?
Yeah. To be clear, there were a lot of songs written in the interim, if you will, whether I was technically in the band
Right.
or out busy with Dangerous Toys. A buddy of mine, Alan Tecchio, uh, took my place in Watchtower when I
You did this.
jumped to the toys. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. You've got it going on there.
Now,
Um,
Bennett, I'm a fan of both. I mean, for those that are
Great.
tuning in that don't know, this is more thrash. I'm not more. I mean, it is thrash metal, right? So the fact that you started out as thrash and then came over to the glam metal world was another thing I wanted to, find out. Like, how did you make that switch?
Uh, with a heavy head,
Yeah, you
with a heavy head.
but you were a
Yeah, that
fan of
was
both worlds, or was it more like going where the direction of music was going at the time?
well. I didn't want to be given the ultimatum, but apparently, um, the new people in my life, which were Dangerous Toys guys, a brand new acquired management team,
Hmm.
and a record label, as well as a publisher,
Uh-huh.
were all in agreement that, well, if he's in two things and they're about to make a record around the same time, that
Oh,
sounds like a conflict of interest.
so they made
Eh,
you leave Watchtower?
Well, they didn't make me, but they said it's a conflict of interest. And so we
Huh.
need you to, you know, they didn't make me leave. There was a
Yeah,
lot, once again, difficult. That's what I meant by a heavy head.
yeah.
It was very difficult for me. I didn't just walk in and go, screw you guys. I'm going to go, you know, put on some cowboy boots and sing, sing some rock and roll boogie woogie, and screw your math metal.
Mhm.
I didn't. It was none of that. It was like in a perfect world, I could have. It's very commonplace as
Look
this
at it today.
discussion is.
You
Yeah, it's very, very commonplace. I mean,
right.
people joke all the time. Oh, what you in 38 bands today, dude? You know, yeah, I get they're jest, they're making fun, but
Uh-huh.
I'm busy with so many different things and styles. And I mean, I write Christmas music and country music and, stuff that sounds like Elton John. And, music is important to me. It's my oxygen. So, and I like all of it. So, important to say that, I had a chance in Watchtower. I'll back up a second. In
Hmm.
Watchtower, whether it be Billy White or Doug Keezer or the newest guitar player who in '87, Billy was replaced by Ron Jarzombeck, and pretty much Ron saved the band. I want to make that uh, my headstone say that. You know, they're writing the lyrics in
Hmm.
Watchtower my whole time.
Okay.
So I cut my teeth as a singer. I learned how to sing. I learned how to be a front man. I'm totally self-trained, but under the umbrella of Watchtower.
Hmm.
So I'm learning about songwriting. I'm learning about how this works, and no one's showing it to me other than the guys in Watchtower. They're not showing, to be clear, they're not showing me how to be a front man and what to say between songs, how to hold the microphone or anything like that. I'm figuring that out on my own.
Sure.
They're just handing me some lyrics,
Hmm.
right? And they're playing arrangements and they're helping show me where what's a verse and what's a chorus
Hmm.
because in that kind of music, it's not rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, as you
It's
said,
not.
black metal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's like
Very
all of the instruments falling down the stairs in time.
hmm.
It's jazz and it's Rush on it's pissed off Rush and a blender.
Yeah.
So, that's not really rock and roll. It's this other animal.
Hmm.
So, I had that to go to learn about too. I'm like, whoa, this is not AC/DC.
Hmm.
This is not boogie woogie. So when something new came into view, I may or may not have said it out loud, but I finally had a chance to become a songwriter.
Yeah.
Because at that point, and I have to give a lot of credit to Tim Tremblay, who wrote the lyrics for Outlaw and Teasin' Pleasin', those Dangerous Toy songs.
Hmm.
He really sort of set the pace of what Dangerous Toys lyrics and our whole persona would and could and should be about. He sort of like, gave that band a sound lyrically.
Hmm.
And I feel the band, he doesn't get credited. He should be credited for that. Now I feel like there are some people out there that would say the same thing about me in Watchtower, giving Watchtower a certain uh tone by my voice, not my lyrics.
Right.
Definitely their lyrics and their uh, songwriting, astonishing, mind blowing at such a young age, right out of high school, just writing this crazy instrumentation that sounds like nothing else on the planet. So much so that, someone writing a record review would be like, what the hell is this? End
Mhm.
of review.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but yeah, so I had a chance to become a lyricist
Hmm.
and a songwriter, even though, like I said, this was not a verbal conscious thing. I'm leaving Watchtower because I want to write my own songs, damn it. No, that
Yeah.
was not on the plate, but it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I totally see where you're coming from. And again, you
Yeah.
touched on it earlier, talking about being, a creative individual, wanting to create, putting your art out there, and being a singer, certainly wanting to grow then musically. I can totally imagine you wanting to write your own lyrics and move in that direction. It's just a shame that back then at that time frame, labels, the industry, all that sort of stuff couldn't imagine people being in multiple bands. I mean, actors were the same way. You couldn't star in two different TV shows at the same time or whatever. But look at it today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Musicians are
If
in
you,
multiple bands and actors play in multiple TV shows, and you know, very
yeah, just because Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy signed on to do all the Shrek stuff doesn't mean that they can't both work for Disney.
yeah,
It's the same thing.
yeah.
So, and now it's so commonplace, man. As soon as that sort of like invisible no-no of a wall came crumbling down, you
Mhm.
found out that everyone had multiple Philip Anselmo, Mike Portnoy, just
Oh my God, yeah,
everybody was in 50 bands overnight.
yeah,
So anyway, that's a thing, and I like the question. The answer is uncomfortable, but it's a truth.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the honesty that you're sharing here today.
Yeah. And so I had a lot to learn about my new band. These
Mhm.
guys in Dangerous Toys I had only known 6 months or 9 months before we are actually making a record together. I mean, we were an overnight sensation, and I'll be the first to tell you.
Mhm.
So it happened really fast.
So
So
on that note,
I
as
started I started in October of 87 with the Toys. It
mhm.
was March of 88. 5 months,
Wow,
right? Yeah, 5 months that we recorded.
that is pretty quick. Yeah,
Doesn't happen anymore.
no, I mean even back then, I mean bands would take multiple years to get that elusive recording contract. So
Yeah, and I mean it's a whole like bucket of wow when you also look at it. Music was changing so fast. I mean, when you think about like the late 70s and then even by 1983, it's like, okay, well, in that interim, you've got, I don't know, and I'm not picking on Dokken. I'm just picking Dokken as a band.
mhm,
They had a record or two out. Well, Metallica's first album comes out in 83,
mhm.
and, Rat was happening, and you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely,
Well, when people heard Metallica, people who were probably already looking for something, I only like the heavy songs that Rat and Dokken play. Well, guess what?
yeah,
Here it is.
right,
So when Kill 'Em All came out, some people might have thrown away their Dokken and Rat records because that was what they wanted. And that's a trend. And
sure,
people
sure,
follow the trends.
yeah,
So this, just that little nugget of like hot and cold is, people are like that. Sheep go where the green grass, oh, I've already eaten all the grass here. I got to go over here. Wow, this grass is perfect.
right,
I don't know.
yeah,
So maybe that sort of little bit of kung fu, if you will, plays into the decision making of someone like me or
mhm,
somebody else, or
yeah,
just how it's done when you are an artist.
mhm,
Oh, I'm only going to paint cows.
right,
No, you're not just only going to paint cows. No, you're not. So,
yeah. Well, there's so many things that definitely play into decision making, whether it's you know a forethought about thing or it's something that's subconscious. But there's all different things, so it's certainly understandable.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's one last thing as we start to wrap up here that I've always had a question about on the debut Dangerous Toys album. All the songs are sung in what I call sort of the sleaze metal or the high register singing, except "Scared." So now, was that
Mm.
a conscious decision that you or the band wanted to do it in your normal register, or was that the label? How did it come about that that song was sung that way? And do you think if you'd sung it in your other vocal style, it would have done just as successful?
I love the question. Here's the deal is a lot of that is because that what I call a third voice or a a lot of people call it a mixed voice, where it's a mix of chest voice and head voice. You're singing mostly in the stratosphere. This head voice, which is not technically like a Mickey Mouse voice, but it's a mixed voice. You're
Sure. Yeah.
using your diaphragm, because usually when you use your falsetto, it's kind of this really high, thin. There's no tone. It's just this kind of whistly thing.
Hmm.
But if you're using your diaphragm, there's this thing. Janis Joplin and Steven Tyler, and a lot of people say they're using a fry vocal, which is a careful use of the certain amount of air to get your vocal cords to sort of like flutter against each other, kind of a thing. I may not be explaining it correctly, but here's the deal.
Okay.
Janice and Steven Tyler, they talk like that.
Okay. They have that
That
same.
gritty, they have that whiskey voice. You know, uh Rod Stewart,
Right.
Peter Criss, they talk. Lemmy Kilmister, they
Right.
talk like that.
Hmm.
So that's part of their tone, right?
Hmm.
So, and this is kind of a confession here. I always wanted to know how to do that, because when I started out when I really started like trying to sing at age like 17 and 18, I was terrible.
Hmm.
And so I had this chest voice that would only go up to a certain range. Well, all of my heroes were just like through the ozone,
Hmm.
you know. And I'm like, well, I can get up there in my falsetto voice and move around a little bit and then come back down into my chest, but there's this bridge between the two totally missing.
Hmm.
And for a long time, man, I was not good in that mixed voice, that bridge. I had to build that bridge. I had to figure out on my own how to build that bridge and be able to sway from head to chest with ease and sound like I meant to do that with no training.
Yeah.
Um, Take Me Drunk, I'm using my chest voice, not just in Scared, like as you mentioned. Um, there might be a couple of little lines in Feels Like a Hammer.
Right.
Uh, Here Comes Trouble. I'm using my chest voice. Probably some of the same scale that's in Scared is in Here Comes Trouble. Um, so yeah, I mean it, but you're right. It's spotted when I'm using my chest voice. You are 100% correct. And to be honest, I was not a strong singer in my chest voice. And you would think that would be the obvious thing when you
Mhm.
start singing, is to sing where it's easiest for you.
Yeah.
And I'm a freaking baritone. I'm not a tenor.
Hmm.
Dio's a true tenor. That guy could sing. You don't even realize how high Dio is singing until you try to fucking sing his songs. And he's singing really high. Well, listen to how big and huge and like raw and like bellowing tone he had.
Hmm.
And he's singing a C5. He's like way up there in his chest voice. And I'm like, what is happening? Like an opera singer.
Right.
I can't do that.
Mhm.
You know who else can do it? Like Bruce Dickinson.
Right.
I can't do that.
Hmm.
So my mixed voice, or my third voice, or I call it fake tenor, because it's humbling.
Hmm.
That's what I'm using pretty much all the time on the hot shot stuff, on the
Yep.
broken teeth stuff. And some of it's grittier and more gnarly, like an Udo Dirkschneider. And I love that tone so much, that like late Brian Johnson gargling razor blade thing.
Gravelly. Yeah.
I love that so much.
Hmm.
And it's very cartoony. There's a band called Bullet. Do you know Bullet?
I do know Bullet. Yeah.
I love that guy's voice, and I read
Great.
comments.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's otherworldly. He sings like a monster.
Hmm.
And I see comments sometimes as, man, that band is awesome, but that guy can't sing. It's like, I'm
Hmm.
like, wait, what? What kind of heavy metal fan are you? what are you looking for? You like Tesla and the Scorpions. Okay, that's cool because none of that gargly, you know, peeling the paint vocal style is in your record collection if that's really what you like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fine. But we're talking about, your question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And all the styles that I was sort of using and, working on, to be honest,
Hmm.
not all of that stuff that I just sort of laid on the plate ended up on the first Toys album, but I was definitely using a version of all of that. Do you like the band Raven?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
John Gallagher is one of my heroes. Now
Yeah.
that guy has about 10 different voices. He can sing like that gargly
We can certainly
race.
get up there.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's one of my vocal heroes because of all of his acrobats.
Hmm.
His acrobatic heavy metal vocal mania
Hmm.
is really what I've been trying to do since I first heard Rock Until You Drop.
Oh yeah.
And then you could say the Udo. The funny thing is those guys recorded songs together. Udo and John Gallagher. They did Born to Be Wild. They did Inquisitor.
Right.
And when you hear them back to back, sometimes you can't tell them apart. So I get excited, obviously, about this topic because it's something to this day, as a 60-year-old heavy metal vocalist, I'm still having to work on and keep in shape if I am to want to attempt to use that styling on a song,
Hmm.
as well as not ruin my voice because I want to sing my Christmas music and my country stuff or whatever, where it's more of a folk voice, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great question, and
Yeah.
I hope I answered it.
No, you did.
I constantly have to work on that third voice and that interim and keep that bridge built because a cold, the flu, an allergy, dehydration, lack of sleep, all of these things that just come with trying to stay alive,
Mhm. Right.
play into being able to sing like that.
Well, a lot of
And
people forget that being a singer, your voice is an instrument, right? And if you don't practice that instrument, you don't work on it or take care of that instrument, it's not going to sound good.
yeah, you could replace, and I love your answer. I love your commentary, but you could also replace instrument with muscle
True. Yeah.
because if that muscle is out of shape,
Hmm.
to even having the band tuned down low is a bummer for fans.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other podcast.
That is an entire other thing there because
That's another topic now, isn't it?
that's right.
Yeah. Have you heard my newest album? It's been out for a month or so. I think it came out on Halloween, called Night Terror.
I have not. I'll have to look at this.
That's brand new. It's on Deco Entertainment. It's the brainchild of Jack Frost, who played guitar. He's currently with Aldo Nova.
Yeah.
He was in Sabotage. Yeah, Jack Frost, man. Everybody knows Jack.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, he asked me to collaborate on some tunes with him, and the project is called Night Terror, and it's out now. There's a video out, a single out right now for a song called "The Remedy Is in the Poison," and yeah, man, check it out.
Oh,
It's very. I wrote two records with my buddy Dan Lorenzo, who's also from New Jersey,
yeah.
such as
Big
Jack or
Dark and
Friends.
Black.
That's right. Well,
And you think,
Cassius King.
yeah, and you
Cassius
think on
King
that.
is the I yeah, they've had me on some things with Patriarchs in Black, but I'm talking about Cassius King.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's okay. I wrote two records under the name Cassius King with Dan Lorenzo. And
Okay.
it's just like Night Terror and Seven
Right.
Witches and all that is Jack's thing.
Hmm.
Cassius King is Dan's thing.
Okay.
And the irony here is everybody knows Alan Tecchio. Alan Tecchio was in Hades with Dan Lorenzo, and Alan Tecchio sang on a Seven Witches record for Jack Frost.
Hmm.
So I might as well be from
Yeah.
I'm an honorary member of the state of New Jersey.
I love
I'm just glad they're not making me pay taxes there.
it. All right.
So yeah, the Cassius King stuff. I was going to say it's Jack and Dan are two totally different styles of guitar player. They're both heavy metal guitar players, certainly. Um, but I can tell them apart like I can tell, red and green. So, um, loved making this record, Night Terror. The record, by the way, is called Return of the Witches,
Okay.
and that's Night Terror with Jack Frost. But the Cassius King records, which are still available, it's on all streaming and everything. Uh, it's very much the vocal styling that I'm using with Jack is very similar to, but not limited to, the stylings I was using with Dan in Cassius King. And as I've mentioned Dio, I am no Dio.
Mhm.
I am not a true tenor, but I am channeling somewhere between Dio and Halford and King Diamond or something. Not so much the King Diamond. That's more my band Igniter. There's like 9 records out with Igniter. And that's this like really angry Iron Maiden type of stuff. But the Cassius King stuff is more like brooding and moody and closer to a Sabbath, kind of a doom, maybe sludge, but without the guttural vocals. It's
Mhm.
more melodic, like a Dio.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Or
excellent.
like Rainbow, like dare I compare myself to Graham Bonnet, whom I totally worship. But yeah, somewhere in there in that melodic Deep Purple meets Black Sabbath kind of a vibe. That's where that's going. So yeah. Anyway, long-winded. Check out Night Terror.
No, that's awesome. I don't know how that ran under the radar for me, but thank you for pointing that out as well as those couple other projects because here I was thinking I'm just looking forward to Friday to getting the new Dangerous Toys Demolition, but now I get to go check out 3 other bands you just mentioned for me. So
Yeah,
I'm very excited about that.
yeah.
Certainly, thanks for being here today and appearing on the channel. I really appreciate it and all that you shared. You went into great detail on stuff and you were very open and honest about all these different things, truly making my day. And I hope everyone who's tuning in out there really enjoyed your comments and answers to these things as well.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and we're all here to learn and share. And if you don't learn and share, then the world stops spinning.
That's a great way to look at things. I love that. Stay positive.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And certainly thank you to Jason McMaster for joining us here today. As I said, a new Dangerous Toys Demolition out by Deadline Music this Friday, December 12th. So check that out. But, Jason mentioned numerous different projects and bands, as well as myself pointing out to different ones like Watchtower and Hot Shot and Broken Teeth and so forth. So lots and lots of great stuff out there, no matter your flavor of music or where it is that you like to bang your head. Jason, I'm sure has something for you.
I hope so. I'm trying.
Yes. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye, everyone.